Part 65. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 641. If you analyze it this way, this professor's position is still a little troublesome. Xiao Xian frowned slightly. Previously, he thought that as long as he became a professor of Qinghua College, his status would be improved and the training resources he would receive would increase. But now it seems that things are not that simple. It seems that even among the professor's team, he still has to spend some effort and means. Don't be too anxious. Long Ruoxiu saw Xiao Xian's intention and also persuaded, bite one bite at a time and do things one by one. Anyway, we are all professors now. Even if someone wants to cause trouble for us, we must have some trouble, just an excuse. Xiao Xian nodded. He couldn't deny that what Long Ruoxiu said made sense, but he understood better that now that he was under someone else's roof, sometimes if the other person wanted to punish you, it was just an excuse. The top priority is for him to quickly improve his strength. At least, he cannot be the weakest among the professors of Qinghua College. This can also provide some self-protection. Well, I have to seize the time to improve my strength. Xiao Xian hesitated and said to Long Ruoxiu, I feel that it may not be long before this elder Lihuo will cause trouble for me. No, you should be talking about us, Long Ruoxiu corrected. Yes, us. Xiao Xian was a little surprised. Although he and Master Long Ruoxiu came from the same sect, there were some barriers between them before. Long Ruoxiu never said anything like we. Don't worry, I already have an idea. You may not know yet, but every professor at Qinghua Academy can go to Shenshu Pavilion to accept some disciples, teach some mysterious skills, and collect Tao stones. These Dao stones are additional income in addition to the Academy's rewards. These things can greatly increase the professor's cultivation speed and also improve the strength of ordinary disciples. This is killing two birds with one stone. Xiao Xian nodded. It seems that this Qinghua Academy really has some tricks, following the method taught by the professor to the students. It can not only improve the occult skills of the colleges, but also benefit the professors. Under such a virtuous cycle, the strength of Qinghua College will naturally be greatly improved, and it will cost nothing to do so. Teaching the mystical arts. I wonder what the price is. Xiao Xian really didn't have any idea about Dao Stone as a resource. Since he came to the mainland, he really hadn't used Dao Stone to improve his strength. When you teach Xian Dao techniques, you should be able to teach 50 disciples at a time. One disciple can use 10 Dao stones for an hour, Long Ruoxiu analyzed. Then I can get 500 Dao stones in 1 hour. Xiao Xian began to analyze, and if 3 hours a day were spent teaching apprentices, there should be 1,500 Tao stones recorded. Seeing Xiao Xian's thoughtful look, Long Ruoxiu shook her head slightly and said with a wry smile, let me tell you, don't get too happy too early. This matter is not as simple as you think. Do you think students are so easy to accept? Why is it so difficult to accept? Our lineage alone has more than 200 disciples, and there must be more people from other lines. The 7 lines combined must have close to 10,000 people. Could it be that I can't even recruit 50 disciples? Xiao Xian didn't understand what Long Ruoxiu meant. He didn't know if Long Ruoxiu looked down on his strength. Who knew that after hearing his words, Long Ruoxiu still shook her head slightly. Actually, you can also see that there are still conflicts between many of the 7 meridians. Wang Ao Bai Sheng's 2 branches, and the one that follows them. If you can't accept the disciples of these 3 branches, they already account for half of the disciples of Qinghua Academy. As for Lu Lianyi's lineage, there are many professors in their lineage who are higher than you and me in terms of strength, status, and experience. And apart from these 4 meridians, the remaining 3 meridians are of average strength. Even if we are included in our lineage, there are only a few dozen people among these people who have the strength and resources to find professors to learn mystical arts. Among these dozens of people, they definitely choose you. Lie down. According to your analysis, doesn't it mean that it will be difficult for me to accept disciples? Xiao Xian was stunned. He originally thought that no matter what, he was considered a new professor and his strength was not that weak. No matter what, you can still get a few apprentices. Who knew that after Long Ruoxiu's analysis, he felt that his future seemed bleak. This is a good professor, isn't it a bit too frustrating? That's why I will contact the family to see if we can find some children of the family to sign up for us. Long Ruoxiu was also a little embarrassed, given the current situation. Although this method is a bit embarrassing, it is also the fastest way to improve your strength. Hear these words. Xiao Xian felt a little embarrassed instead. He knew that Long Ruoxiu was also a proud woman. If she had not reached the last step, she would never take the initiative to seek help from her family. Now, the two of them have not started recruiting students. Long Ruoxiu began to think about how to use the family's power. From this point of view, maybe the situation the two of them are facing now is really not that simple. However, Xiao Xian is also a proud person at heart. It must have taken a lot of effort for Long Ruoxiu to find someone from the family to help her sign up. After all, Long Ruoxiu is just a genius of the Long family. It's not the Long family. Maybe she can get people from the Long family to find her to sign up, but this doesn't make these people also sign up to Xiao Xian. So Xiao Xian still had to think of his own solution. At least, in this matter, he did not want to rely on Long Ruoxiu's power. Alright. So, as soon as I came to this Daolan cave mansion, I was about to have a conflict with other professors. Xiao Xian scratched his head in embarrassment. This is really not a good thing. After hearing this, Long Ruoxiu was also a little surprised. She looked at Xiao Xian in disbelief and said, Xiao Xian, don't act recklessly. Are you messing around? In the process of cultivation, you have to rely on yourself to obtain all the resources. Xiao Xian shook his head. But, we just arrived at this Daolan cave mansion. Are you going to provoke those old professors who have been in the professor's position for so many years? Aren't you looking for death? Long Ruoxiu was a little anxious. What you have to know is that if you don't have enough strength, the final thing may be really troublesome. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 642. A reminder to Long Ruoxiu. Xiao Xian knew it well. He knew very well that Qinghua College was originally a small society with powerful people, whether they were students, professors, elders, or branch deans. They will all get more resources. And if you don't have the strength, not only will you not be able to obtain your own resources, but you will also be stepped on by others without dignity. Strength. I will prove my strength by myself. Xiao Xian laughed confidently, and then turned around and returned to the cave. Seeing Xiao Xian like this, Long Ruoxiu shook her head and gave a helpless smile. In fact, for herself, she couldn't figure out why Xiao Xian was so confident, but she had an inexplicable trust in the latter. As if you can feel it. Xiao Xian can successfully accomplish this. Wang Ao's lineage. In the bright and spacious meeting hall. Wang Ao was sitting at the head of the conference hall, looking at his professors with a somewhat ugly look on his face. The battle over the exercises and the successive failures in the selection of professors. This made him very angry. This was not only a provocation to his lineage's face, but also the loss of a large amount of cultivation resources. You must know that the reason why there is a gap in the strength of each line of disciples in Qinghua College is that in addition to their own talents, the resources provided by the college are also a very important influencing factor. Over the years, their lineage has been winning in various competitions. That's why there are enough cultivation resources allocated to the disciples. Now, if they don't think of ways to maintain their decline in the academy, I'm afraid their lineage will be really in danger. Thinking of this, Wang Ao said directly, now, our influence in Qinghua College has been greatly weakened. If you have any ideas, you can speak directly. This. Master Wang, our lineage is still the unquestionable first lineage. I wonder where you started talking about this, Master Wang. A middle-aged professor couldn't help but said, even if Wu Meng's lineage has been in the limelight recently, they won't be able to compete with us. Yeah, what kind of threat can a few crooked melons and cracked jujubes from Wu Meng's lineage pose? As long as Master Wang comes forward, there is not much we can do to measure them. The next battle among the freshmen will let them know who in Qinghua College really keeps his word. A group of disciples also complimented him. They all know that Wang Ao is a person who likes to hear compliments. Usually at this time, they will not suffer if he follows the trend and says some nice words. Enough. There is no need to say these useless words. But today their flattery didn't work. Wang Ao interrupted them rudely and said directly, now, among the professor's seats, there are already 2 of Wu Meng's lineage, and they are both freshmen. Don't you have any idea about this? He said this. The disciples of the same lineage immediately set their sights on Wang Rolong. After all, Wang Rolong had always been known as the strongest person among the younger generation in Mingzhou domain, but he was defeated by Xiao Xian in the selection of professors. Such a result not only made his strength questionable. He also gave up the 2 professorships of Wang Ao's lineage to others. The biggest sinner in this matter is naturally Wang Rolong. Master Wang, this matter is indeed the disciple's fault. The disciple is willing to. In full view of everyone, Wang Rolong could only stand up and stand up. There is no need to say more about these pity words. I just want to ask you one thing. In the upcoming battle for new students, can you win the qualification to enter the Qinglian Valley? Wang Ao interrupted Wang Rolong impatiently. In this case, Wang Rolong naturally felt a cold sweat on his back. In fact, since Wang Rolong joined Wang Ao's lineage as a new student, Wang Ao has always been good to him. Not only does he give a lot of guidance during daily practice. Even before the selection, the professor even gave him a divine soul formation. It can be said that he valued him very much. But these words today. Wang Rolong clearly felt that Wang Ao seemed a little more impatient with his tone. This made him a little scared. He understood very well that if a branch dean like Wang Ao could train him at that time, he could also destroy him. What's more, it's been so long. His performance among Wang Ao's lineage was indeed very poor. After wanting to understand these things, Wang Rolong did not dare to say more, gritted his teeth and said, Master Wu, please rest assured, this Xiao Xian is only an intermediate level of the spiritual god realm. Even if he has some trump cards, his strength will not reach the high level of the spiritual god realm. This disciple is concentrating on making breakthroughs these days. Fighting for money in the new life, he will surely reach the peak of the spiritual god realm. My teacher also knows it very well, but if you don't have enough strength, even if you have the opportunity to be baptized by the sky flames, you may not be able to go further. Wang Ao said, otherwise, if you rely on the strength of freshmen like you to enter a place like the Qinglian Valley, wouldn't you be sending yourself to death? Yes. After all, not only their lineage, but also the old and new students in the entire Qinglian Academy are basically at the spiritual god level. Wang Rolong was stunned. People from Wang Ao's lineage were even more excited. No wonder Wang Ao paid so much attention to him. The disciples did not dare to neglect and quickly expressed their stance in front of Wang Ao. At the same time, they looked at Wang Rolong with a bit of strangeness in their eyes. Appetite. Master Wang, please rest assured, we will definitely live up to our orders. Master Wang means. He didn't expect Wang Ao to ask this. There are also many cultivators at the peak of the spiritual god realm in Qinghua Academy. It was during the baptism of the heavenly flame that they understood the way of the heavenly flame and became masters of the blue god realm. Wang Ao's expression softened slightly. It's great that you have such confidence, but is your appetite so small? However, he was able to advance to the peak of the spiritual god realm with his own abilities, a level of strength that even some old students could not achieve. In this way, with his strength, wouldn't it be simple and easy to win over Xiaoxian, a middle-level spiritual god realm? Well, not bad. Practitioners in the spiritual realm attach great importance to the baptism of heavenly flames. Master Wang, please rest assured, we will definitely live up to our orders. Who knew that now everyone in Wang Ao's lineage was looking at him strangely? The baptism of heavenly flames. There seemed to be some envy and jealousy in his eyes. For a moment, he couldn't help but look around, wondering if he could see anything from other people. If cultivators of the spiritual god realm want to advance further in the blue god realm, they need to understand a kind of Tao, and there happens to be a kind of Tao of Tianyan in the baptism of heavenly flames. Yes. The reason is also very simple. As for what you think in your heart, the battle for new life will definitely not disappoint Master Wang. No matter what. The freshman battle is a small thing. Hear Wang Ralong's assurance. Wang Ralong is just a new student. Wang Ao glanced at the disciples and said, so, during the freshman battle, I don't want to see you embarrassed again. After hearing these 4 words. Did you know that after the freshman battle, the college will be rewarded with the baptism of heavenly flames before entering the Green Lotus Valley? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 643. Inside Daolan Cave. Xiaoxian sat in the cave, with his legs crossed and his eyes closed. The power of the divine soul in the divine palace was stimulated, and the mysterious techniques that Xiaoxian had practiced suddenly appeared in front of him. Under the power of the creation spirit, he could clearly feel that whether it was pure yang sword technique, Wuji Kendo, or even yin-yang stealth technique, there was a vague primitive power as the core. This power seems to be the foundation that supports the existence of the entire occult art. So, the reason why Xian Dao is ever-changing and never departs from its original sect is because there is abundant original power in the core. Then the size of the raw power will affect the power of Xian Dao technique. Xiaoxian's mind changed. The heavenly wolf sword appeared from the scabbard, and the pure yang sword technique began to move instantly. The golden sword energy suddenly appeared, and the sword struck the blue stone in the cave. The next second, a depression of more than an inch appeared on the blue stone. Seeing this, Xiaoxian couldn't help but frown slightly. The Chunyang sword technique was also in the secret realm, and the system gave him a Xian Dao technique. This pure yang sword technique is the most skillful one he has used so far. But even though he used the sword technique, it only left a small dent on the blue stone. It is true that the items in Daolan Cave are protected by the Academy's restrictions. But he was still not satisfied with this power. The next time, Xiaoxian used the raw power in his body, and the pure yang sword technique appeared again, and then slashed directly on the blue stone with the sword. Crack! Boom! With the blessing of original power. The power of the pure yang sword technique was greatly enhanced, and the blue stone cracked in the next second, splitting into 2 halves. It can be seen from the rounded and smooth cuts. This time the serious sword cut through the blue stone without much effort, just like a hot knife cutting through butter. Is this the power of raw power? It's really amazing. Just by stimulating the primitive power, the power of Xian Dao has increased several times. Does this mean that the primitive power that has been cultivated so hard before has no effect on the Dao continent? Figure this out. Xiao Xian couldn't help showing an excited expression on his face. Ever since he came to the Dao continent, he has always had a helpless mentality, because he found that the power he had accumulated for many years in the Tianqian continent and the Great Desolate continent was of no use. Although he has a good attitude. But such an incident made him somewhat disappointed. Today, he found some unexpected gains on the Chunyang Sword Ju. Since his raw power can strengthen Taoism, then when he fights with others and uses Taoism in the future, wouldn't he be able to greatly enhance the power of Taoism by using some raw power? This can also greatly improve your combat effectiveness. At least, he will have more cards and strength in the upcoming freshman battle. Thinking of this, Xiao Xian couldn't help but feel a little happy. By the way, the system also talked about the fusion of Taoism last time. Xiao Xian suddenly remembered something. The system seemed to have mentioned something before, saying that magic fusion indeed requires raw power. Now, isn't it the best time to experiment? After thinking about it for a while, he decided to merge Wuji Kendo and Chunyang sword technique. After all, he had a general understanding of these two sword techniques for such a long time. The understanding of these two moves is also quite profound. Speaking of which, these two swordsmanships are the most suitable for fusion. Moreover, Xiao Xian is confident that the fusion of these two swordsmanships will definitely be able to exert greater power. The majestic and powerful power of the soul is revealed. A little white man appears, and another little black man appears. Finally, the two villains were dancing with long swords in their hands. One danced the Chunyang sword technique, and the other danced the Wuji sword technique. Due to Xiao Xian's thoughts, the two villains started dancing at the same time. The Chunyang sword technique is thick and round, as if it contains countless Dao power, while the Wuji sword technique is sharp and precise, and a single slash with the sword can bring endless sword power. One is gentle and the other is cold. Running in Xiao Xian's divine palace, he was very surprised to see it, because under the stimulation of his thoughts, these two villains actually showed signs of fusion. You must know that the effect of generally exquisite Taoist skills is completely different when someone demonstrates it in front of you and when no one demonstrates it. Keng. On the contrary, one black and one white have the intention of fighting, as if they are enemies in the first place. But now there can be two villains demonstrating. Under the operation of power. Pure Yang Wuji sword technique. The Chunyang sword technique danced by the little white figure is vigorous, round and natural. As expected, after having this idea, the two villains gradually got closer. But their coming together is not fusion. In his mind, there was also a familiar yet unfamiliar way of swordsmanship. When these two fight, although the situation seems to be full of dangers, and occasionally one of them will be in crisis, they always save the situation with one move at the last moment. This actually made Xiao Xian watch with gusto. Xiao Xian nodded with satisfaction. He had a hunch that perhaps raw power was his biggest reliance in this world. Under Xiao Xian's urging, Xiao Xian thought for a moment, when using it, you need to truly show your absolute power and win with one blow. Xiao Xian's face became a little more solemn. But under such circumstances, it should take a lot of effort to fuse, right? It must not be leaked out casually. However, this should be one of the trump cards. Sure enough. So, I just don't know if the power of these two sword techniques will be even more powerful if they are fused. These two sword moves are also completely integrated. Pure Yang Wuji sword move. Xiao Xian opened his eyes again, and he already had such a sword move in his mind, as if the sword move already existed in his heart. Perhaps, there is just such a thing. He understands that not only practicing one way, but also ordinary people have to pay some price if they want to get the final strength. 2 hours later, Xiao Xian's understanding of these two swordsmanships has naturally been greatly enhanced. As expected, the two villains began to fight, and the long swords in their hands began to dance at the same time. Even later, after watching it several times, he already had a unique understanding of these two swordsmanships. As expected, the system is honest and honest. With a change of thought, the serious sword was swung again. After a slash with the sword, the blue stone in front of him cracked. The Waji sword technique danced by the black villain is fierce and powerful. Only then can he truly stand on the Dao continent, and perhaps this is his most powerful means here. Fusion of Taoism shouldn't be that simple. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 644. The following few days, Xiaoxian was practicing and enlightening in Daolan Cave. He could clearly feel that in this Daolan Cave, whether it was cultivation or enlightenment, the speed was much faster than in the outside world. At first he thought it was psychological. But when he went out by chance and saw the location of Daolan Cave, he understood the reason behind it. It turns out that this Daolan Cave is located on a Dao stone vein. The Dao spirit chi emanating from the entire mineral vein will basically be restrained by every cultivator in the cave. Therefore, practicing in the cave will get twice the result with half the effort. Dong dong dong. Xiaoxian, are you there? One day, when Xiaoxian was concentrating on practicing, Long Ruoxiu hurriedly came to the door. What's wrong? After successfully integrating Chunyang sword art and Waji sword Dao, Xiaoxian clearly felt a restrained aura, as if he had completely integrated some Tao techniques. Both the aura and the soul were more restrained. You don't know yet. After Long Ruoxiu saw Xiaoxian for the first time, she couldn't help but frown slightly. She intuitively felt that there seemed to be something unusual about Xiaoxian. But let's talk about it. She seemed unable to tell what exactly had changed in Xiaoxian. There was just a vague aura of introversion that made her unable to say what she wanted to say. She could only explain, the latest news is that the battle for new students has been brought forward. The rules are that the 7 meridians will fight against each other. We will face each other in the first battle. Dialogue is better than a lineage. Is Bai Sheng a lineage? Xiaoxian frowned slightly. Yes, although Bai Sheng's lineage has always been suppressed by Wang Ao's lineage in terms of strength, Master has said that we have to pay attention to it. Long Ruoxiu frowned and said, besides, this time we can say nothing. I have to find a spot for you. A place? Don't you plan to go? Xiaoxian was a little surprised. Among their lineage, the one with the highest level is Long Ruoxiu. She is a serious high-level spiritual spirit realm. Next are the 2 middle-level spiritual gods, Xiaoxian and Qingli. Moreover, Long Ruoxiu also has the support of the Long family behind her, so there may not be a shortage of training resources. Under such circumstances, even if Wu Meng arranged for Long Ruoxiu to participate in the trial in Qinglian Valley, there seemed to be no problem. However, now let's see what Long Ruoxiu means. She seems to want to give this spot to him. You mean, you won't go to the trial in Qinglian Valley? Xiaoxian couldn't help but be a little surprised. Of course I want to go. However, places like Qinglian Valley are only useful if you have strong people to go to. I am afraid that even if you go there, it won't be of much use. Long Ruoxiu shook her head seriously. Her attitude surprised Xiaoxian. All along, in Xiaoxian's heart, Long Ruoxiu should be a very confident little witch, but today it seems a little different. Is this still the little witch he knew back then? Doesn't this seem a bit unlike your character? Xiaoxian couldn't help but look at Long Ruoxiu carefully. Is what you said true? Certainly. Is it possible that in your mind I am just a messy person? In this new battle, Xiaoxian felt warm in his heart. For such a long time, he really didn't have many friends in Qinghua Academy. What? Just one. Xiaoxian finally understood why Long Ruoxiu gave up. This special guy actually had a quota? Not to mention characters like Wang Rulong and Mu Xiaolong, even Chen Meng is an opponent worthy of attention. At most, it's Jing Li and Long Ruoxiu. Long Ruoxiu was dissatisfied. No matter what, this opportunity is given to you, you must seize it. Yes, so, you must work hard. Long Ruoxiu also smiled, as if she was not surprised by Xiao Xian's reaction. Just wait for me. Regardless of the battle over martial arts or the selection of professors, they are also the only ones who may choose to help Xiao Xian. Don't be too unsure, Long Ruoxiu said after seeing Xiao Xian's appearance. Maybe our lineage is not as strong as other lines, but we are better because we are united, so we have a chance. From the expression on Long Ruoxiu's face when she came to him just now, he felt that Long Ruoxiu seemed to be in a hurry, as if there was something very important. Is there really no problem with this? It's natural. You know, he and Long Ruoxiu have known each other for a long time, but really speaking, they only had a cooperative relationship before. But now it seems that Long Ruoxiu still keeps this kindness in her heart. No wonder you are willing to give up. That's what happened. Xiao Xian couldn't help but mutter to himself. Xiao Xian was a little embarrassed instead. Hey. When asked this question, Long Ruoxiu's face was still a little embarrassed. 1. Of course, I will definitely go to Qinglian Valley. Xiao Xian nodded. Long Ruoxiu smiled slightly. Don't worry, what I said today are all my true thoughts. Master Wu also said that this time, as long as one of our lineage is qualified to enter the Qinglian Valley, it will be considered a success. Long Ruoxiu added, all of us, all the freshmen, have already discussed it. He must take you send it to the Qinglian Valley. Although Xiao Xian helped Wu Meng achieve good results and gave Long Ruoxiu tangible benefits, he really never thought that these things were specifically aimed at Long Ruoxiu. Instead, he just thought that this was what he should made. What do you mean by this? Is it a bit too much? How can you say that? But now, Long Ruoxiu's attitude has changed. Xiao Xian smiled slightly, but then asked, I wonder how many places our freshmen will have to enter the Qinglian Valley this time. Xiao Xian felt something was wrong. As for the new students from Wu Meng's lineage, although there are not many conflicts, it has to be said that they are still on the same front. All chances are earned by myself. Don't worry, I'm not a person who will give up. Having said that, he couldn't help but look at Long Ruoxiu with a little doubt. What are you going to do? Xiao Xian couldn't refuse Long Ruoxiu's kindness directly. He also knew that Long Ruoxiu was a thoughtful person. Since he took the initiative to find him, it meant that he already had some plans. That's pretty much it? Then you can come with me. Master is waiting for us. Long Ruoxiu smiled with satisfaction. Thank you very much. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 645. What's wrong? Speak directly if you have anything to say. Why are you looking at me like that? Under Xiao Xian's gaze, Long Ruoxiu was a little embarrassed and couldn't help but ask, is it possible that you have other questions? After saying this, instead, Xiao Xian asked directly, I feel, is there something you haven't said? It's not too late to say it now, please say it quickly. After hearing this, Long Ruoxiu's face suddenly looked strange. In fact, Xiao Xian's guess was not wrong at all. She did have something to say, but she didn't say it in the end. In her mind, it would be more difficult for Xiao Xian to participate in the freshman battle this time, so she wanted to use the power of her family to help him, even if it was to give him some Dao Stone support. This can be regarded as an investment by Long Ruoxiu. After all, she could vaguely feel that Xiao Xian was not an ordinary person. Although his current strength was only at the middle level of the spiritual god realm, he would one day become a true master in the future. Under such circumstances, she should establish a good relationship with Xiaoxian in advance. She made this decision by herself, and she had even thought about how to tell Xiaoxian. However, when she saw Xiaoxian, but he hesitated a little. She didn't feel sorry for those Dao stones, but she just felt that there seemed to be an inexplicable aura on Xiaoxian's body. This kind of aura made her feel that even without her help, Xiaoxian could get the first place in the freshman battle. Nothing. It was just a little plan before I came here, but now after seeing you, I realize that this plan is not needed at all. After Long Ruoxia glanced at Xiaoxian, she smiled and said, I think with your strength, you won't let me down, right? After hearing this, Xiaoxian suddenly felt helpless. He understood the meaning of Long Ruoxia's words. Didn't this tell him clearly that Long Ruoxia fully believed that he could get the first place in the freshman competition? When does Long Ruoxia trust him so much? I said, do you want to trust me so much? I am only an intermediate level of the spiritual god realm. Are you so sure that I can get the first place? Xiaoxian couldn't help but complain. Of course. There are some things that I can know without others saying much. Just like now, others may not trust you, but I can tell you that I think you are the most promising among the younger generation on the surface of Mingzhou realm. People, Long Ruoxiu looked determined. Isn't this a bit exaggerated? Xiaoxian shook his head. Based on my previous experience, it's a bit too early to say this, right? It's not early at all. Long Ruoxiu shook her head. Forget it. Needless to say, the strength of Wang Rulong and Mu Xiaolong. That Chen Meng is also a difficult person to deal with. Are you so confident that I can get first place? Xiaoxian shook his head. Is it possible that it's because of me? Looking more handsome. You. Of course, my advantage is that I'm handsome, but that doesn't mean you can trust me completely. Xiaoxian still looked serious, as if he was really analyzing this matter. However, he was still relatively smart. When he saw Long Ruoxiu's increasingly ugly expression, he wisely ended the topic. Okay, stop talking nonsense. I heard that the rewards for this freshman battle are very good, and Master Wu will also give you resources to help you win the final victory. Long Ruoxiu got down to business, so, in this freshman competition, you must work hard and get first place. Xiaoxian was a little confused by these words. Isn't this what I have said before? The first place in the battle for new students will be qualified to enter the Qinglian Valley trial. Isn't this the biggest reward? Qualification is one thing. More importantly, if you can get the first place in the competition among freshmen, there is no doubt that our lineage's status in the college will be greatly improved. Then the college will also give us more resources, right? Long Ruoxiu explained, Qinghua College is a very fair college, and all training resources are allocated according to ranking. I see. This is indeed the case, so as to stimulate students' enthusiasm for cultivation. Xiaoxian nodded. Otherwise, if a place like Daolan Cave is given to others casually, it will be a huge waste of cultivation resources. The two of them were talking as they walked towards the barren mountain where Wu Meng was. Enter the meeting hall. Wu Meng had been waiting with his disciples early, obviously waiting for Xiaoxian and Long Ruoxiu. This was almost impossible before. After all, although Wu Meng's lineage is relatively declining among the 7 lines, it is still a lineage of Qinghua College, and it is impossible to wait for 2 new students before discussing the matter. Xiaoxian, Long Ruoxiu, we're just waiting for you too. Take your seats quickly. After seeing Xiaoxian and Long Ruoxiu, Wu Meng also smiled. Yes. Yes. Xiaoxian and Long Ruoxiu nodded quickly. At the same time, Xiaoxian noticed that among the people present there were several old students whom he did not know, and their strength was also at the peak of the spiritual god realm. It seems that Wu Meng really takes this freshman battle very seriously. Master Wu, we are striving to reach the threshold of the Kengshen realm as soon as possible. I wonder what happened today that actually calls us here. After an old student glanced at Xiaoxian and Long Ruoxiu, he couldn't help but frown slightly, and then said to Wu Meng asked. Junior brother Niu, please be patient. The college is about to start a battle for freshmen. This is considered a big event in the college. Have you never heard of it? Wang Tai also replied, what Master Wu means is that if our lineage can get a ranking in the battle for new students, then there will be many benefits for our lineage, and you will also be able to get more resources. Hearing Wang Tai trying to smooth things over, junior brother Niu, who had spoken earlier, instead of restraining himself, raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Senior brother Wang Tai, there is something wrong with what you said. You should know that in general, the fight between freshmen is fought by the younger generation. Only talented geniuses can participate. Can we also have geniuses in our lineage? You, Wang Tai frowned slightly. Junior brother Niu, don't say that. Master Wu has recently accepted some new disciples with good strength and talents. Haven't you heard of them? Strength. Talent. Senior brother Wang Tai is talking about the one who appeared in the martial arts battle and professor selection before. Niu instead sneered, if it's him, I'll forget it. When he said this, the disciples of Wu Meng's lineage were immediately in an uproar, and they all looked at him with strange eyes. Even Wu Meng was slightly dissatisfied. You know, why is Niu also a disciple of Wu Meng's lineage, and now that the battle for rebirth is imminent, he actually destroys his prestige? Isn't this equivalent to betraying Master? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 646. In Qinghua Academy. Basically, many people know that Wu Meng is the one with the most easygoing personality among the branch deans. Usually when facing other elders or other branch deans, they do not compete. Even when facing his disciples, he rarely restrains himself. He smiles most of the time and encourages his disciples to express their opinions. That's why Niu said this. But now, after hearing what Niu said, even Wu Meng was a little unhappy, and said directly, Niu, I heard that your cultivation progress has been good recently, and you have touched the threshold of the Blue God realm. But why do you want to gain the prestige of others? Is it possible that you are so incompetent as a teacher? Disciples don't dare. Seeing that Wu Meng's expression was not good looking, Niu also quickly explained, Master Wu, don't get me wrong. It's just that although this disciple has been in seclusion recently, he has also learned about some situations among the disciples of Bai Sheng's lineage. What's going on? Tell me. Wu Meng raised his eyebrows slightly, and all the disciples also looked at Niu curiously. It turns out that although Niu is a disciple of Wu Meng's lineage, he has a good relationship with many disciples of Bai Sheng's lineage and knows the situation of many disciples of Bai Sheng's lineage. There are even rumors that Bai Sheng saw Niu's rapid improvement in strength and already had the intention to recruit him. However, these are just rumors. And no one can confirm it. Hear what you mean. It seems that we know some inside information. In that case, why don't we ask junior brother Niu to tell us about it? It can also give us freshmen a heads up. Wang Tai was obviously a little dissatisfied with Niu's arrogant and domineering attitude, but he still suppressed his inner anger and said, otherwise, junior brother Niu will also be a little bit shortchanged by Master Wu. Although Wang Tai didn't say this very straightforwardly. However, it had also vaguely kicked Wu Meng. Obviously, he just wanted to use Wu Meng's fame to knock Niu over and let him know that he was of that lineage. Niu naturally knew this very well. But even so, he still felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. After practicing for such a long time, he also had some understanding of the various resources of King Hua Academy. Because Wu Meng's lineage ranks lowest within King Hua College. Naturally, the resources obtained are the least. In comparison, the three lines of Wang Ao, Lu Lianyi, and Bai Sheng are different. These lines rank at the top in the academy competitions all year round, and they often get more resources. In Niu He's heart, he was still somewhat resentful towards Wu Meng's lineage. In addition, Bai Sheng had contacted him several times before, and he also had the intention to leave Wu Meng's lineage and join Bai Sheng's lineage. Niu He, if you have anything to say, you can say it directly. Wu Meng, as the branch dean of the branch, has a clear view of some things. Disciples don't dare. It's just that I have had a lot of contact with the disciples of Bai Sheng's lineage recently, and I also know a little about Mu Xiaolong from their lineage. Hearing Wu Meng's words of affection, Niu He was also shocked. He quickly and carefully explained, this Mu Xiaolong is a descendant of the Mu family of the King Hua Empire. This time, the Mu family wanted to let Mu Xiaolong enter the King Hua Empire. Lotus Valley has already taught him some military combat skills. Military combat skills? When Niu He said these words, all the freshmen and old students present were shocked. Even Wu Meng frowned and couldn't help but ask, is what you said true? Have you seen Mu Xiaolong use military combat skills with your own eyes? Disciple does not dare to deceive the master. These are all things the disciple has seen with his own eyes. Niu He said quickly, that is a Xian-level military combat skill called Snow Dragon Spear Technique. I didn't expect that. The Snow Dragon Spear Technique is a secret of the King Hua Mu family. It is said that only the King Hua Empire's General Mu Feng and a few family cronies know this technique in the world. I didn't expect that the Mu family would do it for the sake of the Qinglian Valley by chance. I even used this kind of military combat skills. Wu Meng also glanced at Xiao Xian inadvertently. At this moment, Xiao Xian was confused. He has seen a lot of military combat skills. Whether in the Tianqian continent or the Great Desolate Continent, they are basically armies composed of ordinary people or cultivators. In order to improve their combat capabilities, these armies will also let ordinary soldiers practice some combat skills. However, there are a large number of soldiers in the army, let alone ordinary soldiers. Even if the generals lead these senior commanders, it is difficult for them to learn high-level combat skills. Is this military combat skill taught by Mu Feng very powerful? A mysterious combat skill? Is it very powerful? Under the gaze of everyone, Xiao Xian also asked. Of course, when the King Hua Empire was founded by force, it relied on the army led by the Mu family. Niu He naturally answered, is it possible, junior brother, do you think that the Mu family's combat skills can still be trivial? Whether it's just a small trick or not, I should have seen it before commenting. Xiao Xian shook his head. Humph, you are very confident, but in the face of real strength, your little self-confidence has no effect. Niu He saw that Xiao Xian was only at the middle level of the spiritual god realm, so he naturally spoke rudely, if you are really confident, do you dare to compete with me once? Ahem. Niu He, just talk, don't say anything else. Wang Tai's face turned livid. Isn't it too much for you, a person at the peak of the human spiritual god realm, to bully an intermediate spiritual god realm? At the same time, many disciples from Wu Meng's lineage also frowned. If there is a chance, I would be willing to learn from senior brother Niu He's tricks. Xiao Xian smiled instead. Ever since he reached the middle level of the spiritual god realm, he felt that his strength had greatly increased, and the power seeds in the sea of Qi were becoming more and more solid. He no longer had any interest in challenging ordinary high-level spiritual gods. If possible, he really wanted to challenge the peak of the spiritual god realm. Look at how strong the characters at the pinnacle of the spiritual god realm are. Ha ha ha. Master, is this your new genius disciple? Niu He was stunned for a moment, and then couldn't help but sneered, although this disciple is stupid, I still can't see what is so special about this genius disciple, except for his mouth, of course. Niu He, don't go too far. Junior brother Xiaoxian is indeed a new disciple, but right after he started, he led our lineage to win the first place in the Kung Fu competition, and also got 2 professorships. He is a meritorious minister of our lineage. Meng Xiaoli couldn't stand it anymore and took the initiative to say it. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 647. May I ask Master Wu, is this military combat skill really that strong? Xiaoxian stopped talking to Niu He and asked Wu Meng instead. The main focus of military combat skills is killing the opponent. It is generally used in confrontations with enemies. It will not be used unless it is a life or death situation. Although the battle for new students is fierce, the Mu family actually asked Mu Xiaolong to learn combat skills in the army for a quota, which is more or less excessive. Wu Meng frowned and said, under the same realm, those who have practiced military combat skills will indeed be stronger than their opponents. After saying this, Niu He nodded with satisfaction. For him, he didn't believe that Wu Meng's lineage could win the ranking in the battle for new students, so naturally he didn't like Xiaoxian who just contradicted him. At this moment, after his intelligence was confirmed by Wu Meng, he turned back with a sarcastic face, looked at Xiaoxian and said, Junior brother Xiaoxian, do you understand now? The combat skills in the army are definitely not something ordinary people can resist. If you are smart, it is better not to show off during the battle between freshmen, lest you lose your life when the time comes. Really? It's just a military combat skill, can it really hurt me? Regarding Niu He's half-persuading and half-ridiculing attitude, Xiaoxian naturally didn't take it to heart and sneered directly, if I am really afraid, I don't have to participate in any freshman battle. I will just abstain. Well said. Junior brother Xiaoxian, you are right. Although the combat skills in the army are powerful, they are not invincible. Senior brother, I believe you can defeat Mu Xiaolong. Wang Tai was the first to take sides with Xiaoxian, moreover, Master Wu will also give you a trump card this time. As long as you have the will to win, you may not be able to defeat this Mu Xiaolong. Although Wang Tai did not mention Niu He in his words. However, the latter's face was a bit ugly. Although he did not openly support Mu Xiaolong, some of his words were quite clear. He simply believed that Xiaoxian could not defeat Mu Xiaolong. Who knew that Wang Tai, as the eldest brother among the old students, would trust Xiaoxian so much? Isn't this just a slap in the face? This made Niu He feel angry, and he didn't know who to vent to for a while. Finally, he noticed Xiaoxian and couldn't help but said, this junior brother is very confident, but the battle between freshmen is not just about confidence. If you have the means, you might as well show it to everyone. Can you also ask all the senior brothers and sisters to correct you? Xiaoxian also frowned. He also looked down on a senior brother like Niu He who was trying to pick things up, so he refused to be outdone and said, it's okay to correct him, but if he has no opponent, how can he correct me? Niu He said these words with the purpose of making Xiaoxian look embarrassed. At this moment, when he heard that the latter fell into the trap, he was secretly proud and said, in that case, I will fight you, how about it? Niu He, this is a battle for new life. What do you, a ginseng at the peak of the spiritual god realm, do with you? Is it possible that Mu Xiaolong and Wang Ralong can reach the peak of the spiritual god realm? Wang Tai was the first to stop him. Senior brother Wang Tai is right. The gap between the peak of the spiritual god realm and the intermediate level of the spiritual god realm is too big. Even if you want to check Xiaoxian's strength, there is no need for senior brother Niu He to take action. Meng Xiaoli also nodded. The two of you are wrong. Although I am at the peak of the spiritual god realm, unlike you two, I have just been promoted to this realm. To put it bluntly, I am just a high-level spiritual god realm. There is nothing I can't defeat. Niu He was so proud that he deliberately said to General Xiaoxian, junior brother Xiaoxian was confident that he could defeat the military's combat skills just now. Why don't you dare to accept the challenge now? He said this. Wu Meng's face also frowned slightly. Niu He, the gap between you and Xiaoxian's realm is too big, and the gap in Tao power is so big, even if you fight, you won't see anything, so let's switch to someone else. Yes, seeing Wu Meng speak, Niu He could only nod, although he was not angry. No need. Since senior brother Niu He is willing to take action, I just want to see the gap between the middle level of the spiritual god realm and the peak of the spiritual god realm. Xiaoxian smiled heartily, raised his hands and said to Niu He, I heard that senior brother Niu He has a good relationship with Bai Sheng, and maybe he can learn some military combat skills. You might as well show it to me later, and let me see this army. How powerful are the combat skills? After hearing this, Niu He was stunned at first, and then looked at Xiaoxian in disbelief. He never expected that Xiaoxian would be so bold and dare to challenge him at this time. He even offered to let him use military combat skills. Isn't this just seeking death? After Niu He was promoted to the peak of the spiritual god realm, his Dao power increased greatly. That strong Dao power was definitely not something that a person in the middle level of the spiritual god realm could touch. More importantly, in order to recruit him, the Bai Sheng lineage did offer that if he was willing to come to the Bai Sheng lineage, Mu Feng could teach him military combat skills. Therefore, he has also seen the combat skills of the Snow Dragon Spear. Now Xiaoxian, who is only at the middle level of the spiritual god realm, actually challenged him in public, and even said that he wanted him to use military combat skills to fight against him. Isn't this just seeking death? Although he didn't dare to do anything to Xiaoxian in front of Wu Meng. But with 3 punches and 2 kicks, Xiaoxian was beaten to a pulp, and he still had the confidence. Haha. Junior brother Xiaoxian, are you kidding? Master has just given you a step down. Are you still not satisfied and really want to compete with me? A somewhat playful expression appeared on Niu He's face. Do you know that I, Niu He, will not hold back when fighting against me, no matter whether the opponent is strong or weak? Have you thought clearly? He said this. The disciples of Wu Meng's lineage were also worried about Xiaoxian. Anyone who has been in this lineage for a long time knows that Niu He is famous for being a hard-working saburo. He will try his best regardless of the academy battle or the lineage competition. Who knew that Niu He could say such a thing to Xiaoxian, a mere freshman? They couldn't believe it. Since it's a competition, of course we have to use all our strength. Xiao Xuanyun was calm and didn't seem to take Niu He to heart at all. Good. Gorgeous. Master, since this is what junior brother Xiaoxian proposed, I will go all out for this competition. Niu He struck while the iron was hot and said directly to Wu Meng, look, should we fight now? Regarding what Xiaoxian just said, Wu Meng couldn't help but have a headache. Since Xiaoxian joined his lineage, he also discovered that Xiaoxian was indeed a very talented disciple. At the same time, he is also very proud at heart. At that time, even if faced with a branch dean like Bai Sheng and Wang Ao, he would not give in easily, let alone a little Niu He now. Therefore, Wu Meng also shook his head and said to Niu He in a solemn tone, it's okay to compete, but it should be done as soon as possible and no one can be hurt. Do you understand? Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 648. I will obey my master's orders. Niu He nodded naturally, but there was a bit of cruelty in his eyes. Before coming to the chamber, he actually met Bai Sheng once. Bai Sheng told him that their opponent in the battle between freshmen was Wu Meng's lineage, and asked him to pay special attention to a new student named Xiaoxian. He didn't take it seriously, thinking it was just a new student and it was no big deal. But Bai Sheng said that if he could find Xiao Xian's weakness or Xiao Xian's trump card, he would teach him the full version of the Mu family's combat skills. This also made him extremely excited. Niu He, who had just reached the peak of the spiritual god realm, knew that his current strength was not even comparable to that of the chief disciple of Bai Sheng's lineage. Even if compared with Wang Tai Mengxiali, her strength is much lower. But if you have the blessing of the Snow Dragon Spear, it will be different. Not only will you be able to defeat them, but at least your strength will be greatly improved. Maybe, you can also get the qualification to enter Qinglian Valley. In this way, wouldn't he soar into the sky? So at this moment, looking at Xiao Xian, who was in the middle level of the spiritual god realm, his eyes almost shone, and he couldn't help but say, in this case, junior brother Xiao Xian may have to take it easy and just use his strongest strength. Don't worry, I won't let senior brother Niu He down. Xiao Xian is so experienced. He could tell at a glance that this Niu He who took the initiative to provoke him must be up to no good. Coupled with the rumors between Niu He and Bai Sheng, he also had to be vigilant. In this battle, naturally he will not bring out his trump card, the Taoist fusion pure Yangwuji sword move. On the contrary, he had to find a way to let Niu He show off the snow dragon marksmanship. Go to the battle platform. Wu Men waved slightly, and a battle platform suddenly appeared in front of the barren mountain. Yes. Yes. Xiao Xian and Niu He walked into the fighting stage. Suddenly, the atmosphere outside the fighting platform became solemn, and many disciples of Wu Meng's lineage looked inside with burning eyes. There are not only old students here, but also a large number of freshmen. For Lao's Hung, they are more willing to believe in Niu He, who is at the peak of the spiritual god realm, and think that it is impossible for Xiao Xian to defeat Niu He. But the freshmen don't think so. Ever since Xiao Xian led them to win the battle over martial arts, they had really benefited from it. Although they knew there was a strength gap between Xiao Xian and Niu He, they also hoped that Xiao Xian could win. As for Wang Tai and Meng Xiaoli, they were both angry and helpless towards Niu He. To be honest, the cultivation resources of Bai Sheng's lineage are indeed stronger than those of Wu Meng's lineage. If Niu He really chooses Bai Sheng's lineage, not even Wu Meng can stop him. But they also look down on duplicitous people like Niu He from the bottom of their hearts. Then please ask brother Niu He to make the first move. Xiao Xian was waiting for work. He also knew that if he really used his Tao power to fight, even with the Tao power bonus of Chunyang Sorju, he would not be able to take advantage, so it was better to start with let Niu He take action. Good. You have to watch out for the Snow Dragon Spear skill. Niu He sneered, took out a silver spear from the space magic weapon, then raised it slightly, pointing the sharp spearhead directly at Xiao Xian. On the fighting stage, the atmosphere suddenly became stagnant. Not only the disciples of Wu Meng's lineage, but also the disciples of other lines looked at the fighting stage with solemn expressions. Although Xiao Xian and Niu He have not really fought against each other yet. But anyone with a discerning eye can see that Xiao Xian's strength at the middle level of the spiritual god realm is still a bit stretched compared to Niu He. Suffice it to say, if a fight did occur. But after thinking about it for a moment, he felt relieved. Under such circumstances, perhaps Xiao Xian is not without a glimmer of hope. The spear in his hand was like a dragon coming out of the sea, like a giant silver dragon. After shaking a beautiful spear, it went straight to Xiao Xian's chest. Niu He didn't hesitate. After all, although the Mu family's military combat skills are powerful, in the competition, because they can't kill directly, Niu He will inevitably be restrained. In this case, no matter how courageous Niu He was, he would not dare to actually kill Xiao Xian, but using some means to defeat Xiao Xian did not seem to be that difficult. If you insist on competing with someone like Niu He to determine the outcome. Even Wu Meng nodded happily, feeling impressed by Xiao Xian. Seeing what the arrogant and domineering Xiaoxian could say, in that situation, not only Xiaoxian, but also the entire Wu Meng lineage would be humiliated. But he felt like he was locked by the entire silver gun. It seemed that in the next second, his body would be penetrated by the silver gun. After saying this, Niu He's face was a little uncertain. Although the marksmanship moves are mediocre. You have to show me the killing skills in the army right now. He could also tell that the rule stipulated by Wu Meng was obviously biased towards Xiaoxian. At the same time, Xiaoxian was also secretly frightened when he saw the thunderous snow dragon silver spear. He could feel the power of the spear technique when he was in it. There aren't too many fancy moves, every move is directed towards the opponent's vital points simply and concisely. The rules favor Xiaoxian, so what? Is it possible that he, a cultivator at the peak of the spiritual god realm, would lose to an intermediate spiritual god realm because of a rule? Regarding these words, Xiaoxian shook his head. Senior brother Niu, have you forgotten what Master Wu said? This competition is not to determine the winner, but to try the military combat skills of Bai Sheng's lineage, so, just ask senior brother Niu to compete with military combat skills. If we use other Taoist techniques to win, I'm afraid it won't have much effect. Combat techniques in the military emphasize directness and effectiveness. He said these words. There is some truth in what Xiaoxian said. Since it is a combat skills competition, Niu He, don't use other Taoist skills. Just use the combat skills given to you by Bai Sheng's lineage to fight Xiaoxian. Whoever of you can win will naturally be rewarded as a teacher. Niu He said with a sarcastic look on his face, with your current strength, if you don't show your trump card, you may not be able to take even one of my moves, so, in order for you not to lose too ugly, you can take action first. Of course, this is just a competition within Qinghua Academy. In fact, before this competition, Wu Meng was still a little worried. He couldn't tell that although Xiaoxian had a trump card, his hard power was only at the middle level of the spiritual god realm. The disciples of Wu Meng's lineage also nodded one after another. Wu Meng followed Xiaoxian's words and said. But now, Xiaoxian's words have restricted part of Niu He's strength. When the time comes, he will use military combat skills to defeat Xiaoxian. In the end, you will most likely lose. Snow Dragon Spear Technique. If one hit is successful, victory or defeat will be determined. Niu He even used military combat skills, and it was entirely possible to kill Xiaoxian in one blow. Are you really planning to confront us? If you really have this ability, you might as well show it now. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 649. The combat skills in the army are truly extraordinary. Of course, this is a secret of the King Huamu family. I don't know how it got into Niu He's hands. It goes without saying that Niu He is closely related to Bai Sheng's lineage. The combat skills in the army must have come from Bai Sheng's lineage. I remember that Niu He is obviously a disciple of Wu Meng's lineage. Could it be that, this means he wants to join Bai Sheng's lineage? Be careful what you say. Under the fighting platform, a group of spectators were talking a lot, which made the disciples of Wu Meng's lineage look a little strange and ugly. After all, no matter what Niu He said outside, he has not yet left the Wu Meng lineage, which means that he is now a disciple of Wu Meng's lineage. But now, he is not clear with other pulses, and even wants to use the combat skills learned from other pulses to defeat the disciples of his own pulse. If something like this really gets spread, wouldn't the lineage of Wu and Meng make people laugh out loud? Damn it! In other words, junior brother Xiaoxian is just a new student. If senior brother Wang Tai or senior sister Meng Xiaoli were to take action, How could he be so arrogant? Who says it's not the case, but we can only blame the cow for eating it inside and out. It is indeed infuriating, but if Xiao Xian is defeated, our lineage's reputation will not be good after all. The disciples of Wu Meng's lineage also felt a little uncomfortable on their faces. You don't have to be so unconfident. I think Xiao Xian may not be defeated at this moment, a tall and beautiful woman in white said. Isn't this Long Ruoxiu? That little witch of the Long family in Mingzhou domain? Does she have anything to do with Xiao Xian? Why do you defend Xiao Xian so much? Unbelievable? Is there a story behind this? After hearing this, some freshmen recognized Long Ruoxiu. Among the freshmen in the Mingzhou realm, Long Ruoxiu is relatively famous, and many freshmen secretly like this good-looking little witch with a good family background. However, there has been no chance of contact. In addition, Long Ruoxiu's personality is hot on the outside and cold on the inside. If she didn't have a deep friendship, she would have been very devoted to him. Therefore, her real friends are only Xiao Xian and Qing Li. Miss Long, you seem to be very confident in Xiao Xian. At this time, a cold voice came through. It was Mu Xiaolong. Mu Xiaolong. This is an internal competition within our Wu Meng lineage. What are you doing here? Seeing that it was Mu Xiaolong, Long Ruoxiu couldn't help but frown. You are not welcome here, please leave quickly. Isn't this a bit unkind, Miss Long? According to the regulations of Qinghua Academy, everyone can participate in the fighting stage competition, and everyone can also watch the fighting competition. Is it possible that your Wu Meng lineage is special? Mu Xiaolong looked serious. Then just watch. Long Ruoxiu was speechless for a moment. From a certain point of view, what Mu Xiaolong said was indeed correct. However, I think I heard Miss Long say just now that Xiao Xian can defeat Niu He? Isn't this a bit ridiculous? Mu Xiaolong was unreasonable. Don't Miss Long know that Niu He is in the spiritual realm, peak? So what? If I remember correctly, it seems that this is not the first time that Xiao Xian crosses the border to challenge and win, right? Long Ruoxiu responded tit for tat. It seems that this was the case in the previous disputes over martial arts and selection of professors. Mu Xiaolong became excited instead and continued, Miss Long, although I recognize your strength, I don't think you are very good at seeing people. Speaking of which, as for eating, it was just an excuse for him. Mu Xiaolong's words immediately caused an uproar among the people around him. Isn't Miss Long unwilling to bet with me? Or, Miss Long doesn't have much confidence in Xiao Xian? From the inside, Long Ruoxiu was a little unsure, but in the end she still turned away. Emile. Seeing Long Ruoxiu like this, Mu Xiaolong glanced at Long Ruoxiu in front of him and deliberately teased, if that's the case, it doesn't matter if we make a bet this time. She knew very well the meaning behind Mu Xiaolong's words. It was obvious that Mu Xiaolong's purpose was just for her. So, you look down on Xiao Xian very much. Long Ruoxiu's face also darkened. That's not certain. But what I want to see is whether you have the courage to dare to bet against me once. Ms. Long's words are wrong. Before, it was just a struggle between souls and formations, not hard power. This time it is a competition of spiritual power. Is it possible that Xiao Xian can still win? But then, Mu Xiaolong still smiled sarcastically. There was a sound. Everyone has a bit of curiosity on their faces, and some people who are not too embarrassed to watch the excitement are making noises nearby, as if they plan to watch the excitement here. Mu Xiaolong also thought of his previous defeats in the competition, and his face suddenly felt a little embarrassed. Many people around the fighting stage also focused on Mu Xiaolong. Long Ruoxiu smiled slightly. For me, Long Ruoxiu, there seems to be no bet that I dare not make. It just depends on whether you have the courage. Mu Xiaolong smiled coldly. He was able to win by chance before because of good luck, but a person cannot always be lucky. Today, if senior brother Niu He uses the Snow Dragon Spear technique, Xiao Xian will definitely lose. What if Long Ruoxiu lost and had dinner with Mu Xiaolong? Wouldn't the latter publicize the matter in all kinds of ways? 100,000 stones. Of course, but, I don't know what Miss Long wants to bet on. Mu Xiaolong was stunned. Obviously he didn't expect Long Ruoxiu to say that, and simply continued to ask, if what I expected is good, what if Miss Long, if you bet, you will definitely lose. I don't know if I will lose or not. Do you want to bet something? Long Ruoxiu became interested instead. 100,000 Dao stones. How about it? Of course. Wouldn't it ruin her reputation? Let alone eating with him. A smile suddenly appeared on Mu Xiaolong's face. As long as Miss Long has a favor and has a meal with me, that's all. How about that? If Xiao Xian wins this time, I will give you 100,000 stones, but if Niu He wins, Miss Long will promise me something. But Long Ruoxiu, the person involved, frowned tightly. Bringing up old things again. What's more, Long Ruoxiu is also the eldest lady with a family behind her, and she doesn't look down on Mu Xiaolong, a idle nobleman. Judging from this situation, it seems that no matter what happens to this bet, Long Ruoxiu will not suffer any loss. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 650. It's a bet. Isn't it just 100,000 Dao stones? If I lose, I'll give you 100,000 Dao stones. Long Ruoxiu is also a person with an arrogant temper and said directly, could it be that you think that I, Long Ruoxiu, can't bring out a mere 100,000 stones? This time, the disciples present were filled with emotion. What you need to know is that 100,000 Dao stones, not to mention the new students, even some old students may not be able to use such a large amount of resources. But now, look at the appearance of Long Ruoxiu and Mu Xiaolong. As if this is such a common resource, it can be taken out casually. What are you going to do? Facing the person in front of her, Long Ruoxiu's eyes were sharp. If you think that I, Long Ruoxiu, am a person who sells out my appearance, you are totally wrong. Of course not. Miss Long misunderstood. Mu Xiaolong was also stunned. I just want to get to know you, and I have no other ideas. However, when he said these words, he did not get any response from Long Ruoxiu. It was obvious that Long Ruoxiu didn't care about him. While talking, Xiao Xian and Niu He were fighting together on the fighting stage. I saw that although Niu He's Snow Dragon Spear technique was sharp, whenever the spear tip came close to Xiao Xian could always dodge it with a strange movement technique. It was the yin and yang stealth technique that Xiao Xian had practiced before. Originally, Xiao Xian's yin-yang stealth technique could only fight against practitioners at the high level of the spiritual god realm, but since he learned to use raw power to strengthen the technique, the effect of yin-yang stealth technique is greatly increased. According to Xiao Xian's rough calculation, at least it has reached the level of Dachan, and ordinary high-level spiritual gods cannot even lock his position. When masters compete with each other, victory or defeat can often happen in an instant. A few moments. Niu He has already made several moves. Because combat techniques in the military focus on killing, the moves are relatively fixed, and they consume more energy than ordinary Taoist techniques, so it didn't take long for him to be out of breath. But he had promised Wu Men before that he would not use other Taoist techniques. At this moment, he was naturally angry and anxious. Xiao Xian, you are a mouse who only knows how to hide? Can't you show some real skills? Niu He stabbed Xiao Xian's chest in front of him with his spear. As expected, there was another phantom in front of him. Senior brother Niu He can't even beat me, so what's the point of a duel? Xiao Xian appeared behind Niu He like a ghost. The serious sword suddenly appeared like lightning and stabbed directly towards the latter's waist. I think your clumsy snow dragon spear skills are not that good either. Ah. Die. Being so humiliated on the fighting stage. Niu He was even more furious, swung the spear in his hand again, bent down, and swept it, and stabbed Xiao Xian in the forehead behind him without looking back. Although this trick of lazy donkey rolling does not look good, it is very effective. Not only can he use more of Xiao Xian's heavenly wolf sword, but he can also take the initiative to attack Xiao Xian. Xiao Xian did not dare to neglect. The yin and yang stealth technique was activated again, and his figure flashed, disappeared again, and reappeared above Niu He's head. It looks like an immortal standing out of thin air. So hot. I didn't expect that my junior brother Xiao Xian's movement skills are already so amazing. Looking at the situation on the field, although junior brother Xiao Xian does not have an advantage, it can be found that Niu He seems to be unable to defeat Xiao Xian with the help of Snow Dragon Spear technique alone. I didn't expect such a situation to happen. It's really unexpected. The onlookers were talking a lot. Actually, many people began to support Xiao Xian. Long Ruoxiu also nodded slightly and glanced at Mu Xiaolong not far away. It seems that it is not that simple for Niu He to defeat Xiao Xian. At least with his current appearance, it seems difficult. Long Ruoxiu said this to her face. Mu Xiaolong's face was a little confused, but he still forcefully explained, "Miss Long, it's better not to be too optimistic. Judging from the current situation, Xiao Xian has been avoiding and has no ability to fight Niu He head-on. So what? Niu He felt as if he had all the power in his body, but he couldn't use it. Now, he also roughly feels that there is indeed a big gap between the middle level of the spiritual god realm and the peak of the spiritual god realm. Who knows, the final situation is not what he thought. You know, Niu He has not yet truly demonstrated his strength as a peak powerhouse in the spiritual god realm. Instead, Xiao Xian understood what Niu He meant. If you let Niu He's power gather. Long Ruoxiu sarcastically said, if you can't do something yourself, what right do you have to criticize others? Of course, this is only Xiao Xian's final goal. The other is to look at the gap between him now and the peak of the spiritual god realm. Now retreating in order to advance has put him in an awkward position. And he only used the very rigid snow dragon spear technique. Niu He actually put the spear on the ground, sneered, and said to Xiao Xian, in this way, you can be considered a victory, how about it? From this point of view. What, are you tired? He is no match at all. The best way is to consume some of the opponent's strength first and then find a way to defeat him. Xiao Xian. Compared to Niu He, Xiao Xian is much more relaxed. He knows his own advantages and Niu He's advantages. But even so, he couldn't do anything to Niu He. Every time he tried to take advantage of the yin-yang stealth technique to attack him, he would be forced back by the powerful power of the avenue. Hear this. Hearing Long Ruoxiu praise Xiao Xian so much, Mu Xiaolong felt as if he had swallowed a fly. He felt as uncomfortable as he wanted. I wish he could be stabbed to death by Niu He directly now. If I always look like a mouse, what's the point of competing like this? Why don't I just admit defeat? After another set of snow dragon marksmanship, I could only look at Xiao Xian fiercely on the fighting stage. Everyone was helpless towards Xiao Xian. At least I won't do such sensational things just to save face. Xiao Xian was like a nimble swimming fish, slipping away from his fingertips every time, even if he danced like a flower with the snow dragon spear technique. At the same time, Niu He on the fighting stage also looked anxious. He originally thought that even if he only used the military combat skill of Snow Dragon Spear, he could easily defeat Xiao Xian. One is to check the power of Snow Dragon Spear. Xiao Xian is only a mid-level spiritual god realm. If I remember correctly, you are also a high-level spiritual god realm. Can you confront Niu He head-on? In this competition, the two goals he originally set have actually been basically achieved. You really don't dare to confront me head-on. He understood that based on the way he had behaved before, it was obvious that he was not the kind of person who would give up easily. If Xiao Xian wants to defeat the opponent, he will have to spend some effort and means.